What do you see here from a new plan standpoint?
Street.
Yeah, the street.
Narrow street.
Very narrow. Why do we like narrow streets in downtowns?
To go slower, but half of Fresno doesn't.
Yeah.
And what's going to be the speed limit?
Well, what's more important than the speed limit is the design speed. We have a habit in this country of designing streets that beg you to go 50 or 60 miles an hour, and then we post them for 30 and wonder why everyone speeds. So the design speed here is going to be very slow. There's a lot of evidence that shows when you narrow lanes, a 10 or 11 foot travel lane instead of a 12 or 13 foot travel lane. When you have on-street parking, when you have bulb outs at the corner that choke down the intersection, speeds drop way down. And then having, street trees and a narrow corridor in general also just psychologically really slows people down. Mid-block crossings, all those sorts of things. And it tends to be more successful than just the posted limit, unfortunately. And so, and that's kind of why sometimes they call those things speed traps, right? The street's wide open.
No, I'm not. I'm not sold on it because my speed limit through my street on Winery is 35. Okay, probational officers 45, 50. People trying to get to their jobs on the businesses that are across the street from my apartment 45, 50. No, they don't. But it's a lot of. It's 35, but it's a lot of Fresno people. Some of them, they're too in a hurry to get somewhere fast, okay? And they drive slower after 5, they drive faster 10 till 8. It's reversed. I know psychologically, yes, because in San Luis Obispo, the streets are narrower. You drive slower. I can see that. It's just that certain cities, their speed limit is up here because Fresno has so many freeways. Some of Fresno's people's mentality is, I want to get there and I want to get there fast before somebody is going to pull up in front of me and beat me to where I want to go. I see that on a day-to-day basis. And it happens. I see it on my street all the time. We have stop signs. Nobody uses them. I've almost gotten hit maybe in the 14 years I've been there 25 times because they don't stop. The worst ones are the probational officers in their white county cars. I work for the county. I see them. I know them. See, and people getting in a hurry to get to work because they leave their house at 15 till 8. They start at 8. They don't give themselves enough time. I see that during the lunch hours in here. You see, I see it all the time.
Well, the design of this is different than the design of Winery, and design matters. Design really matters.
The people's design in their head, how fast they want to get there is not.
Yeah, anybody who wants to use this for a quick crosstown shortcut will be very disappointed.
I hope so.
Very disappointed.
We're not hitting people and broadsiding them on the sidewalk just because they wanted to get somewhere fast.
No, everything about the design is to slow it down and make it slow.
You can always sell something, but are they going to eat it? That's just it.
Yeah. It already works for me. I live in Selma, and I'm driving an electric car now, so I go slow. But I used to speed up and down Van Ness as fast as I could, just like she's talking. And when I come through downtown now, it's slow. And you've already slowed the traffic down.
That's right. It really does make a difference. And so, a lot of times, the mindset in the 60s was, hey, you know what, let's make this street 4 lanes. What's the harm in having a little bit of extra capacity? Well, the harm is that entices people to go fast. An enlightened traffic engineer told me one time, if you design your streets like the barrel of a gun, people will drive like bullets. So that's why we're taking a different approach here. Yeah. Good.
What else do you see? So there's our landscape setback, very useful.
Yeah. Right. And so this is the 60s or 70s thinking, hey, let's get that building away from the street and plant stuff in front. Now we want to follow the model that we see here on the corners where the buildings are at the street and they invite people in and you can see into the windows and you have more of that interaction.
But isn't there maybe a little diversity, maybe now and then, one of these just for a little bit of?
Well, where you'll see the diversity, you definitely don't want setbacks.
Is this going to be changed here?
The housing authority is, hasn't made any plans, but they're interested. They want to be catalytic in this area, and they really believe in our vision. And so, if an opportunity comes along where they're able to redevelop this site, maybe they move elsewhere, they go into a new building, what have you. Then yeah, they are willing to look at that as an alternative, and then they would follow the new plan with their new building. In fact, the City View Apartments, if you're familiar with it, on Inyo and Van Ness, that was built by the Housing Authority, opened up last year, and they followed the draft of the downtown code because they really believe in it and they wanted to be a showcase for it, and so that follows. So in the areas where we have a retail focus, the landscaping shift goes to an urban sidewalk emphasis rather than kind of a quasi front yard emphasis. And so street trees and potted plants, next to the buildings and things like that. Now, that's not going to be everywhere though. Downtown is about 600 acres, it's huge. And so areas where we don't have that retail focus like we do on Fulton, some of the side street areas, then yeah, buildings can set back a little bit. Maybe the ground floor has residential units with a little porch or a stoop entrance and a little bit more planting. And so your diversity will come not necessarily at the building level, but at the block level. So where we have that retail focus, everything's up. And then on residential side streets, you've got a little bit more of that residential feel. Still very urban, but urban residential instead of urban retail.
Blank wall,
Yeah.
right?
And-
The exact opposite.
And Merced Street is worse, the way this building treats Merced Street. It's so this would no longer be allowed, and this tends to repel pedestrians. People who have a choice and are on foot just won't volunteer to go down a street like this. And we need to make it really, really comfortable and enticing. And one of the things we're really going for too is not only to have the windows, but to make the sidewalks the main way people circulate on foot. In some cities, there was a trend where, hey, we're going to invest back in downtown, but we're going to do a suburban mall. So they build a Providence, Rhode Island, did it. There's the San Francisco shopping center by the Westfield Center on Market Street. So it's a vertical, kind of suburban style shopping mall. And so when you go from shop to shop, you're doing it inside the building and you don't set foot on the sidewalk. Now, San Francisco's so busy, that doesn't hurt the street life on Market and Powell at all. But we don't have that human deluge of people that they have, and so we need to be more strategic. So what we want happening is when people go from their office to the restaurant, from the restaurant to the post office, from the post office to the shoe shop or whatever, we want all those trips to happen on the sidewalk rather than inside of a complex. Because what good does it do to have all those people walking around and doing things if they're not enlivening our streets, making them feel safer, making them feel more interesting, and being exposed to other businesses outside of that complex? We don't want sealed biospheres. We want all that coming and going to happen on these public sidewalks. One of the coolest projects I worked on in Redwood City was a Cineplex downtown. And it had 20-screen cinema plus about 80,000 square feet of retail shops, 20 different businesses or so, and a parking garage. Parking garage was underground, retail ground floor, and then the cinema was actually up on the second level. And you could not go from the parking directly into the cinema, or from the parking directly into a retail shop, or from a retail shop directly to another shop or the movie theater. All of that traveling had to happen out on the sidewalk. So it enlivened it. So when you took the elevator from the parking garage, it dropped you off at the sidewalk in a little lobby. Then you had to go out and down the block to get into the movie theater. So then all those people are now out on the sidewalk, walking around, meeting each other, seeing things, making it feel safe and comfortable, and getting exposed to the area in a way that they otherwise might not. If the same uses had been turned inward into a central mall-like corridor and all that circulating happened inside the building, then the outside, the main downtown would be a ghost town. which is exactly what you don't want. So one of the things we have in the code is, no, your entrance needs to be to the sidewalk. We want that circulating happening out here. So if you go from shop to shop, you're on that sidewalk, you're making it feel safer and all of that. And that's a really key thing that a lot of cities learn the hard way, and that we're trying to get away from. So it's partially about just glass and not blank walls, but it's also partially about getting every pedestrian trip possible onto these streets. I've jokingly told people, or half joking, that if I could, I would make the restrooms be around the corner and down the block so that people had to leave the building and go on the sidewalk just to go to the bathroom. We're not going there, but anyway, that's how important it is to get everybody out to the sidewalk as much as possible. So that's another thing you'll start to see over time. And Warner's works that same way. You can't go from the T place directly into the theater, right? You have to come out to the sidewalk, down to the corner, into the theater. And that's by design, and that's one of the areas that we focus on in the new code too.
Very good for business. The more traffic in front of your business, foot traffic in front of the business, the more sales you make. So everything you do that we're doing with this is making it easier, shorter, faster for developers if they do the right thing. Same thing, putting all of this emphasis on the sidewalk means that we're going to have more successful businesses lining Fulton Street, which then bring more customers, which brings more vitality and all the rest of it, right? So
Yep.
it's a very pro-business thing, even though it's a city plan.
Right. Yeah.
Because if business doesn't work,
then
no
we're
one's
toast.
going to come here. Yeah, right? All right, let's walk to, let's say, Fresno Street.